Good morning. This is the Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Weather Briefing for Friday, December 19th. Just as an update, this will be the last update until, through the holidays and until mid-January. So we're going to discontinue this for a while as we're in the darkest, coolest, and most moist time of the year. But we will resume. There are still some burn projects ongoing. You see the purple dots through here, of course, parts of northern Utah and Nevada, Sierra Front down in southern areas. Also a few small natural fires, just an acre or less, but a sign of the dryness that has been continuous with the expanding drought in southern areas. We see that if we look at precipitation over the past 14 days, hardly anything south of the I-80 corridor, bone dry, near 0% of normal. And even in areas that had some decent wetness up in the central Idaho mountains over the 2-week period, you can see that the percent of normal is still somewhere only around 75 to 85% of normal, though wetter than normal conditions are much further north in the northern Rockies and into Montana and Washington state. Looking at the flash drought index over the past 6 weeks, you can see a lot of areas are in this level 2 drought indicator on the flash drought indices, even a few small pockets of level 3, and that's, I think, close to where we had one or two of those small wildfires. So anytime we have a burn project and there's going to be a significant wind event and there are continuous dormant fuels, something to keep in mind. Now, our snowpack, reflective of the dryness this fall, we've had basically 20 to 40% of normal snowpack only across most of the area. The highest areas I can find is closer to normal across the Tetons, but that's about it. Even the central Idaho mountains, only around 70 to even 47% of normal. So definitely a dryness, and this continues to extend into even the Cascades of Oregon. It's not until you get into the northern Cascades across the northern half of Washington state do you see snowpack levels approaching near normal levels. They had a lot of wetness there, but a lot of it came with high snow levels. But that's where the high snowpack is in the high country up in the northern Cascades. We can see it across the central Idaho mountains. There's maybe 12 to 25 inches of snow cover, maybe a little bit more across the Tetons, more like 30 to 40 inches, maybe 10 to 20 inches across the highest elevations of the Uintas and the northern Wasatch, but not much elsewhere. Even the Sierra, hardly any significant snow cover around this time of year. Very unusual. Looking at our fuel charts with the dryness, the southern Sierra Front, you can see that it is near record dry level ERCs for this time of year. Now, not record dry summer levels, but for this time of year. And this time of year, if you've been dry for a couple of weeks, you get a wind event sometimes during the spring, you could get a couple of dozen acres of fire burning, not out of the realm. Same thing for Ely South. You can see the current ERCs near that red record line for the time of year. Upper level map for this afternoon, you can see a strong cold front across the northern portions of the Great Basin, drier air to the south, the tight height packing of the height lines indicates strong winds, so dispersion will be increasing. We see more whites permeating the map here, whereas before we had more of the red and purple colors indicating very poor overall dispersion. We'll break the dispersion down into transport winds. Wind, surface winds, quite gusty. Of course, northern Nevada, Idaho, Wyoming, northern Utah, and the higher terrain, a lot of 15 to 30 mile an hour winds. Humidity quite high in northern areas with precipitation 50 to 80%. But you can see how dry it gets just south of the I-80 corridor, upper teens to low 20s in a lot of areas there. Now we look at the transport winds, and they're considerably stronger. It could be gusts over 50 miles an hour on the transport wind side, also analogous to the ridgetop winds. The mixing heights, several thousand feet above ground level, so definitely good mixing if you have a burn ongoing or planned, but maybe, again, with the wind, maybe a little bit too much of a good thing. Now on Sunday, you can see another train of moisture pushing into northern and central California, into much of Nevada and southern Utah. Good overall dispersion with a lot of those areas in the white. Surface winds on the left. Notice the humidity starting to climb up. In southern areas start moistening up by about 10 or 15%. Transport winds not quite as strong, but still locally breezy in a lot of spots. Mixing heights vertically looking good. Now, on Sunday, a consolidated atmospheric river of moisture from well down out in the Pacific through California and extending into a good portion of Utah, Nevada, and parts of southern Idaho. You can see the winds picking up out of the southwest here at the surface. The humidity is quite high in most areas, and transport winds quite strong off the Sierra front, kind of a washoe zephyr, but the humidity should be fairly high. Very good mixing heights. 3-day precipitation totals with some of those waves of moisture. Again, parts of Idaho, Wyoming could see 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches of precipitation. Snow levels might be fairly high, but where it is snowing, they could see a foot and a half of snow. And that same story extends down into the Wasatch and the Uintas, and probably the Rubies and parts of the Sierra as well. On Monday, again, a consistent plume of moisture hitting areas that have not had much rain. We talked about how dry the Sierra is and parts of Nevada. They're going to be full blast with the moisture. Now, the snow levels will be starting to come down a little bit, good overall dispersion, and that continued moisture on Tuesday from much of California, Nevada, northern Utah, most of southern Idaho and western Wyoming, and then this low kind of pivots and starts drawing out moisture from the south. So very moist, stormy weather through the 7-day period. Some drier air briefly interjects into southern areas on Thursday, but moisture lingers with this storm across the Sierra and into parts of Idaho and Wyoming, and that trend will continue with deepening moisture as this low slowly makes its way onshore. Excellent overall dispersion with those areas in the white. Precipitation days 4 and 5, heavy precipitation across the Sierra front, light to locally moderate precipitation elsewhere. And then we see that precipitation on days 6 and 7 covering our very dry southern areas. Finally, seeing some good moisture also into the Wasatch and parts of western Wyoming as well. The Sierra gets pounded. If you look at the 7-day totals, a lot of areas in the Sierra and Arquis kind of off, but this yellow is indicating anywhere from like 6 to 10 inches of liquid precipitation, which could be 6 to 10 feet of snow if you go high enough, and also some significant precipitation in that 2 to 4 inch range as you go into the western Wyoming, the northern Wasatch, even some good amounts near 1 inch in the higher terrain of southwest Utah into the Arizona Strip and the Spring Mountains of southern Nevada. Now our 8 to 14 day outlook, again, the above normal temperatures cover much of the country. We're on the edge of it here on the western end of it, but we are looking at wetter than normal conditions for a good portion of the west and basically the entire geographic area. So definitely it looks like a pattern shift starts in these next 7 days and then it continues as we go to the end of December into early January of the new year. This concludes our briefing. Again, a reminder that we will be discontinuing temporarily this product through the holiday season, and we'll resume it in mid-January. We have our National Predictive Services national meeting the second week of January, so we'll be all down there, but we'll be back the third week of January with the resumption of this product through the winter and spring seasons. Okay, have a good holidays and Merry Christmas to everyone. Have a great day.